Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, moving on to our agenda, we have a motion to approve by reference the items listed on the consent agenda. Diane, will you please read those items?
Yes, the town council meeting minutes, March 27th, 2023, April 4th, 2023.
Any questions, comments on those items? Do I have a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second? All in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Moving on to a very special presentation, we have our very own Main Street champion with us this evening, and Jill is going to give us a quick little presentation on that.
Hello, everybody. Yes, we're excited to recognize Bill Baucom as our Main Street champion. Just real briefly, what Main Street is kind of the mothership of downtowns, for those of you who don't know. And several of the communities are Main Street communities. It's a whole process we have to go to become that. And we submit somebody for an award we think has been a superior volunteer for us, and Bill has definitely been that. And I'm not going to explain to you what all he's done, because we have this lovely video that Main Street put together that they showed at the conference. And so we're just going to show that brief clip, and then Emily can say a few words. And I just want to personally thank you, Bill. You're very special to me in all ways, professionally and personally. And thank you for being a part of everything we do downtown.
So we had somebody about 15-20 minutes ago need to use the computer, and so signed off everything that was already set up for the meeting, so. There it is.
I promise you.
In 2019, as a newcomer to Elon, Bill Baucom immediately volunteered his service to downtown. With his 35-year professional background as an entertainer and a professional booking agent, he offered to assist in created during the COVID-19 pandemic. Bill developed a list of performers and began booking bands within a limited budget to create a successful outdoor music venue. During each concert, he acts as the liaison between the downtown director and the entertainers by handling bookings, correspondence, and logistics. Now in its third year, the program brings 14 to 15 live music annual venues each spring and fall. Bill's enthusiasm, professionalism, talent, and love of his community makes him a huge asset to downtown. He is an active community member, and his dedication to Elon makes Bill Baucom its 2022.
Right, I'll have Bill join me up front. If you all don't know Bill, that means you haven't been downtown. Bill is downtown about as much as I am. And
I want to hear about Dan.
They're in alphabetical order.
There we go.
But our downtown committee got to join Jill and I and Rich to celebrate Bill at the actual event, but we wanted to recognize him here this evening as well. So Bill, here is your certificate, which you've had since March, but for a nice photo op.
Fantastic.
And thank you so much for all you do.
Say anything before I sit down?
You say whatever you want.
I apologize, my voice is hoarse from last weekend. So if you bear with me, I just want to say briefly, I moved here in 2018, the summer of 2018. And in the nearly 5 years I've been here,
I have embraced and felt embraced by this community of wonderful people. And it was a total surprise for them to honor me this way. Emily and Jill and Rich have all been in my circle of friends since I moved here. And I couldn't have asked for a more wonderful reception. And if I can contribute anything to this wonderful place, and I've chosen to be a part of this community rather than just live here, and that's made all the difference for me personally. And if I can ever do anything, I'm always happy to do it. And let me just add one more thing. Jill has just done a splendid job on everything since she has come into this picture. And I was here a little bit before that. And man, give me the bat and knock it out. of the park. Thank you very much. Thank you, Em.
Great. Moving on to our appointments. So we have two applicants for our Diversity, Equity, and Belonging Committee. And who's going to be presenting that information?
I will. We have with us tonight, Jan. Hold on, give me 2 seconds. I've been pulled 100 ways there tonight. Jan Pagoria, if you please stand and, or just wave your hand or however you want to do this. And then we also have, and please help me, Mahmood. Okay, yes. He's here too. And they were here at our meeting this morning at 9 and came here both feet on the ground running and gave us some wonderful ideas. And we want to present them to you here tonight and for an appointment to the committee. Stephanie Borland is our liaison, and Rose Cooper is our chair. And Wendy Scott is co-chair. Peter Levitt was absent this morning, but the ones that were absent, we have already forwarded them the recap of the meeting. Forwarded to them the recap of the meeting. So it was a good meeting this morning.
Great. I'm glad to finally get it off the ground. We've been talking about it for a while, so that's exciting. Any questions for Jan or Mahmood?
After looking over both of your resumes, I mean, it's definitely two solid resumes, and definitely, I think, a bit to have to this committee, not just to the committee, but to the town of Elon. So I just want to thank you for stepping up and being part of our town and help us.
I've had the privilege of working with Jan in a different way, so I'm very excited to be able to do it again. And Mahmood, I'm very excited to work with you as well. So thank you both for your time and your dedication for this town. Appreciate it.
You all have any questions for us before you're officially appointed?
No, I think that this morning we have a little bit kind of introduction, the committee, what we're gonna do, things, but
Thank you.
I'm good.
Thank you. Not all.
Not always.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the two appointees to the Diversity, Equity, and Belonging Committee? Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you all so much. You're welcome to stay, or you are welcome to go. Yes, thank you so much. It is very hard to find volunteers, and we know that volunteers are truly the backbone of so much that goes on here in Elon. So thank you all so much. Moving on to public comments, this is an opportunity for the public to share comments with us regarding their concerns or wishes for the town. Each individual will be given 3 minutes. Jill, if I can have that sign-in sheet, we'll start at the top and work our way down. All right, it looks like we have Kai Whiteside. You want to come on up? And Kai, if you can just give us your address as well.
Yes.
Hear that.
100 Campus Drive. I'm an Elon student. But yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Kai Whiteside. I'm a sophomore here at Elon University. and a current resident of Elon. I grew up in Apex, North Carolina, where my family still resides today. Today I've come to talk to you about my biggest passion, which is skateboarding. Skateboarding has been intertwined with my life for as long as I can remember. When I was young, I found myself jumping off swing sets at the highest of the peaks. In middle school, I performed in front of the whole school during the talent show, and in high school, I asked my crush to prom. You may wonder what the relevance of these actions are, and I can tell you it's not only the excitement, but the ability to conquer fear. As I said earlier, I grew up in Apex. On August 1st, 2015, Apex's Rogers Family Skate Park opened up. My young 12-year-old self attended with only two goals in mind: to learn and have fun. In high school, I found myself in hard times. I was dealing with the ever-looming action of going to college, the unprecedented times of COVID-19 family troubles. As I felt like a sailor without a compass, I began to visit the skate park regularly. Every day at Rogers Family Skate Park, I felt at home and at peace. My fellow skaters supported me and pushed me to conquer my fears, both in the skate park and outside of it. These skaters would check in to see how school was going, if I'd asked the girl to prom yet, and eventually they would hang up my graduation announcements on their fridges. Coming to Elon, I was previously shaped by Apex's wonderful skate community. Quickly became a shock to see that the skate community here was kind of hidden. Many of my friends that are Elon natives found themselves skating at Elon University for its safety. There are stories of people yelling at them, cops coming to kick them out, or having to beg their parents who work two jobs to drive them 45 minutes to Greensboro's not so family-friendly skate park. I realized I'd been privileged to have a skate park, and I wanted to create one to get a skate park in the future. I come here today to plant a seed that will hopefully grow. Over the last 2 years, I've had the pleasure of cultivating the passion and positivity of skateboarding here at Elon, holding events in which 50 members of our community have come together to skate. This community needs a skate park, a place where skaters can feel seen, heard, and most importantly, feel safe. A place where your residents can express themselves like the majority of other residents here at Elon. I sat down and had a conversation with the mayor of Apex to talk about the successes of the park. In this conversation, he was more than excited to share with me that the skate park was in the most prosperous parts of the town, provided a great community in the heart of Apex. It's kept kids and families safe while active, and lastly, it's brought great commerce to the local shops downtown. I'll leave you with this thought. Skateboarders are artists. We have a need to express ourselves. If you take away our canvas, we resort to painting on the walls. And when our paintbrushes are taken away for trying to express ourselves, we feel lost and hopeless, forgetting what it means to be seen and what it means to contribute as a member of the community. Please help fuel this art and give the community a canvas. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kai. We'll just open any others before we move on from. Great, we will now close the public comment section. Moving on to proclamations, we do have 6 proclamations that we will be signing. You can find those in the agenda for today, but we do have one in particular that we will be presenting to our Chamber of Commerce this evening. So just to quickly go over the ones that we aren't presenting this evening, there is Municipal Clerks Week, Mental Health Month, Public Service Week, National Public Works Week, and National Police Week. There's a lot going on always in the month of May. We're certainly appreciative to all those different individuals who impact our town, and we'll be recognizing them during their designated weeks. So the one that we're gonna focus on this evening is the Small Business Week, and we do have a proclamation that I will read and present to our partners at the chamber as well. So whereas for more than 50 years, the U.S. Small Business Administration, SBA, has celebrated National Small Business Week, which recognizes the critical contributions of America's entrepreneurs and small business owners. And whereas Small Business Week is now observed throughout the nation, and whereas we recognize the important role that small businesses play in bringing innovation, quality of life, jobs, and investment to the town, and whereas small business owners are historically leading donors to the local community through financial gifts and volunteer hours, and whereas focusing on entrepreneurial development and supporting small businesses provides for a stronger, more resilient economy, and whereas small businesses are a driving force in the town of Elon's economy, bringing jobs, experiences, and funds to the town, Now therefore, I, Emily Sharp, Mayor of the Town of Elon, do hereby proclaim the first week of May as Small Business Week in the Town of Elon. Furthermore, I urge all residents to recognize the value of small businesses and to support them through patronage and advocacy. So I'm not sure if Reagan, if you had anything that you would like to add, and if not, we'll get a photo.
Wouldn't happen without you, Stephanie. Come on.
Go all the way here, you should get in the picture, right?
Can't take it without Jill.
Yes, absolutely.
Who's taking the photos? Bill.
All right, thank you.
I thought maybe the official photographers.
Okay, moving on to public hearing. And this is to consider our Elon Fire District tax rate. Rich, are you sharing anything or Landon on that before we open up the public hearing?
Yeah, we, the process in Alamance is that the council recommends a fire district tax rate to the county commissioners, who then have the opportunity to include that in their budget presentation and their budget development process. We raised our tax rate back in 2020 when we acquired Penn 8. Helping to split some of that debt service with our district. Since then, we've obviously seen significant inflation, and with the revaluation in the county, we've had to recalculate what our recommended tax rate would be. And we're recommending the 8.65 cents or 0.0865 per $100 of property value. Put that into context, a house of $100,000 piece of property would be about $86. 200,000 would be about $172. That goes directly to our fire department to help them cover our part of the county for fire rescue. And it should be noted that we are adding one firefighter to the department this coming year, proposing to add one firefighter to the department this year. Help balance out our shifts, which are out of whack, so we are seeing some increased costs, inflationary costs. So that's what we would recommend, and back to you.
I do have one question before we open up a public hearing. You had shared with me that there was a difference in the valuation numbers that we received last. Did that make impact that number?
Through some late Friday evening emails with the county assessor, I got my questions answered. We are still right in that ballpark of what we had planned on. So yeah, the numbers have changed a little bit. But what they had given us was, the report I received last week was only part of the overall total of value that receives that tax. So it's not a significant change at this point.
So we just became a fire district 2. Does that carry over to the county that we service?
So they actually have a separate rate. Out in the county is a class 4. Mainly because there's no water system.
Chief, if I can do a follow-up question, what kind of difference is this gonna make between being revenue neutral and making this increase for your department? What things can you tell us that are really gonna make a big difference for you if we do this?
But just like all the other departments, the cost of equipment has gone up tremendously. I think the biggest difference is gonna help supplement that firefighter that we're requesting to even the shifts out.
And we need that firefighter.
Yes, you know, not having that firefighter is a big cause of overtime and searching for a lot of part-time help, so. Cut back on some of that, with replacement of the firefighter.
And I will add two things that I would like. The county calculated revenue neutral tax rate of 8.07. And I won't call it a suggested tax rate, but they said a tax rate plus inflation, revenue neutral tax rate plus inflation would be 8.62. So we're right in the ballpark with where they were suggesting. In terms of dollars and cents, it's about $37,000 additional revenue to the town. So it's not not a huge burden. Share it with the fire district. And it does help us to maintain and improve our staffing, our coverage.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but we're already understaffed technically for the size of our town and the types of buildings that we have, even with an additional firefighter. Is that correct? Okay. Any other questions? All right, I will now open up the public hearing. Are there any individuals who wish to share a comment about the fire district tax? Are there any online?
No one asking for a comment, no. Mm-mm.
All right, we will close the public hearing. And you would like a vote this evening, correct? Or,
A recommended tax rate that we can pass on to the county, yes.
and so the options are the 0.0865, an alternate or delay a decision. I think we're probably ready to make a decision. It's just what that number is. Any, comments? Thoughts on that?
I'm comfortable with the 0.865. Include the revenue control plus.
Ask a question. What is the general starting salary for a new firefighter?
It's 40,800, it's change.
So even this in little revenue neutral plus inflation still is not gonna cover the new firefighter. It's gonna help us.
It's gonna help.
So knowing that, would you recommend something different?
I'm comfortable with that.
Right, do I have a motion to approve the recommendation to the county of a 0.0865 for the fire district? Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, motion carries. Thank you all so much. Great, moving right along here, we have old business. This is definitely some old business, so hopefully we can wrap this up. So we have our town council rules and procedures policy. And we did have that reviewed by our town attorney, and there were some pretty minor edits made, but there were still some questions. Does your version have the comments on the right-hand side?
Should.
Okay.
And then there was also a memo I sent out after the fact, clarifying a couple of issues.
Let me just start up really quick so I can. Did anybody have questions while I pull that up?
Comment you had were in the email, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this was the version updated 4/17/23, and again, that had all of Bob's I accepted all of his edits because I didn't think any of them were like any controversial or anything of that nature. But there were still some outstanding questions. One of them was on time limits. And I know that you had some thoughts on that.
What section?
I actually think that's the last one.
Page 18.
So in our section 5.1 public comments, we had discussed, maintaining the 3 minutes per person. But then we had the verbiage in the case where few individuals have been asked to share public comment, additional time may be granted at the discretion of the presiding officer. But our town attorney encouraged us to not go with that and instead be consistent to ensure that we're not, violating any First Amendment rights. So that was one item that we needed to discuss. Do we want to make a public comment 4 minutes or up to 5 minutes? Just know that we're opening up if we have an instance where there's 40 people who want to comment.
I think that's more the question is, if you limit total time, you get a topic. You get 3 minutes. If you had 40 people who wanted to get up and speak, you certainly you couldn't accommodate that, I don't think. Could we legally limit that to 10 people or 5 people, whatever number seems appropriate?
I know in some other policies that I read, they did limit public comments to like a total of 30 minutes. So each person would be given up to 3 minutes, but then they put like a total minute. And then keeping in mind that this is just public comment, so it's not anything related to an agenda item. So, I mean, my experience, have you experienced any public comments outside of a public hearing that have been longer than? I haven't either. So, I mean, I would be perfectly comfortable to say, and ask Bob, to review that. I would be fine with saying that we're gonna limit it to a total.
Yeah, the 3 minute. 3 minute thing has been so universal in just about every meeting I've been in. I really feel like what he's really trying to say is don't create a double standard. And it just seems so simple, and I don't think we need to add anything else, because if we have a large group of people here, each want to speak, I think we should let them speak. And we've done that in the past. I don't think that the outside time is important. And like even today, when our friend, the skateboarder was here, you didn't say you have an extra minute. You didn't say you had an extra 2 minutes. You were just nice enough to let him finish. And there was nothing discriminatory or special privilege about that. In other words, but in some instances, it's important that we have those limits. I think by setting it the way it's worded, I think that's my personal opinion.
So keeping the additional time may be granted at
I think just, that's fine. We don't have to.
Yeah, I agree with you too, Randy. Where, I'm fine with 3 minutes and keeping it there. I just hate, of course, I wouldn't want to have 40 people in here and saying the same thing over and over. I feel like that's part of, even if they want to be an echo chamber with 40 people, I'm going to sit here and take it and listen. And just like you both said, Mayor and Mark, that you haven't had a public comment every 30 minutes. So if we haven't had one, we need to put something in place to say now we can't. I just, I want to try to make it as available for the public. I mean, we stress about it up here that we want public involvement. I don't want to govern any of their speaking. Try to open it as much as we can to help them speak. And especially like imagine if you did leave it just that 30 minutes or only 5 people to speak on said subject. You happen to get here late and you weren't able to, but you had prepared to speak, you had this, and then all of a sudden you don't get to speak. Just I'd rather not. everybody else here to listen to it.
So,
My concern is that obviously we haven't had that happen. Say if there's an issue, and the whole university has a whole group of people. who want to come to it. There's 100 people. Said we give them 3 minutes for each person who's on his own. It's not really productive to hear the same thing over and over and over. To your point, the 30-minute that you've seen other municipalities. I think that's effective. You can't convince someone in 30 minutes. That's your point. Probably, this is not the thing we can do that. There are ways of doing that. But if you allow 10 people to speak in 3 minutes, that's 30 minutes. Certainly 10 people could cover that topic,
What if there's multiple topics?
except per topic. Per topic.
Per topic?
Per public comment, per topic.
yeah, but this would just be public comment, so it's open, so, you know, that person could be commenting on that thing, that person could be commenting on that thing. You know, someone could be about potholes, somebody could be about noise, someone could be about traffic.
Right. So when they sign in, they have to put in what their purpose is, public comment on. You don't have to say.
Is there a assumption that there may be fors and against, and would you have time limit on?
So that would be a
Comment?
public hearing, not for a public
What
comment.
I would think too, so.
Is there an option to, if we do have same circumstance of the whole university coming here, everybody's speaking? We table? Yes, Ms. Stein?
Can I please share something with you all? And there's a group in other municipalities, and I thought we had it in our policy as well, that designate a spokesperson for the group. The whole group doesn't speak.
Is that something written in our policy right now?
I
It's a-
thought
it's a-
I put it in here.
It's in the public hearings, not in the public comments.
But even a large group. If they haven't or together, uniform, what if it's a topic that they want to talk about, not a group? But is there in the Robert's rules or meeting parliamentary rule? We're going to say we public comments until the next one, or how does that?
I think that that's like giving more time, or giving less time. The view could certainly be made that, oh, you don't like the topic I want to talk on, therefore you're cutting me off. The 3 minutes is a safety valve. So somebody doesn't get on there and just keep going. The 30 minutes total is a safety valve. Like, one of the questions I would ask is whether we have a light agenda, and we have a bit room full of people who want to make public comment. Can you exceed that 30 minutes? I don't see why you couldn't. That would be something we could talk about with Bob to just confirm. I think it's just a safety valve.
So we could make a. I'm not sure what I'm trying to say. Exception to that based on the circumstances.
I think,
Mayor at her discretion.
I think as a board, elected body, of elected officials, always have the ability to allow more. It's when you restrict that you run into issues. So, if you're saying, all right, I'm gonna give you 4 minutes, but I'm gonna give you 3. You're differentiating. You say, we got a room full of people here. We don't have a real heavy agenda. And they all want to have their 3 minutes. You can extend that half hour, if you choose to. And again, don't confuse it with public hearings. This is the public comment where people can come up and say whatever they choose to.
On that, I'd be in favor of minute 30. Just.
Yeah, I think you always have the ability, whether it's here or not.
Sounds like we need to run that by.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna, I wrote a note to have Bob review that.
Does,
So does that mean the old business is gonna get older?
yes.
The old business is getting older.
Well, I just, even with that situation, definitely want to talk to Bob, but even in, right now, it's just the 3 minutes and the way it reads now, additional time may be granted at the discretion of the proceeding officer. Bob told us like, couldn't do that. So now we're getting ready to do it again.
No, I think that's to the 3 minutes.
3 minutes. That's all.
Each individual should be given 3 minutes, but then I think you can. We'll ask, that's Bob.
Yeah, again, I think if it's, gee, we have a room full of people who want to speak. You're accommodating the public. Discriminating as opposed to. Change who gets to speak for 3, who gets to speak for 4.
We don't allow them to yield their time, do we?
I would not.
Bring C-SPAN in.
I just want to make it again, as fluent as possible for the public to be able to not feel like they have a governor put on them when they want to come and speak. And
I think we all agree. I think the point is, if you limit each person 3 minutes, whether it's 3 people or 30. Use the basis as 30 minutes, and we decide to allow 15 people to speak. Then obviously that goes longer than 30 minutes. But we have the ability to do that. We're not gonna reduce it to 15 minutes. But we do have the ability to increase it if it's warranted.
Yeah.
I think that comes so infrequently that I think the 3-minute, 30-minute rule is a good idea. We could, as you said, we can go more. Been on board for almost 16 years and it hasn't happened. Not to say it won't, but I think if we did that, we would be covering ourselves from most situations.
A note in there for Bob. All right, so now we'll go back and we'll do these in order since finding the one that I knew right off the top of my head wasn't as easy as I anticipated. All right, so on page 14, section 2.6, cancellation of meetings. Bob asked if we should specify who could cancel a meeting, the mayor, the manager, whom. I think it's a great question. I mean, in my opinion, we would all agree to cancel a meeting unless it was like an emergency situation where maybe I would have a conversation with Rich about this is an emergency situation, there's a tornado warning, we need to cancel a meeting, whatever.
And going to the full board to decide that,
Right.
5 o'clock is not, it's not practical.
So should we add, in case of an emergency cancellation?
I don't know if you want to use the term emergency. But. As I said in my memo, board sets the schedule. So if we decide we're going to take the month of July off, that's a decision of the council. That's clear. I think, emergency. How do you want to
Last minute.
Technically, did a meeting of the council need to be canceled without a vote? Notification will be made to the council, local news media, and to the public. I don't know that we need to specify. I mean,
But we do that.
I know, but I'm saying, do we need to say who cancels it? I mean, technically, it would be a discussion probably between you and I, or Mark and you, or somebody and you.
But without saying who gets to make those calls. I think that's where Bob was, is that, if you're gonna have a short timeframe to cancel it, who's gonna make that decision? I'm fine with consultation between the mayor pro tem manager. To run the meetings. Obviously, I'm here present to see what's happening if that's the case, and
yeah, I mean, I think that makes the most logical sense. I mean, power.
Less moving parts in an emergency situation, the better. I think.
Yeah. All right, so we are going to, I'm not sure how to actually put in here. Figure out the verbiage later.
Something like time sensitive cancellation or something like that.
The line just says right now, should a meeting of the council need to be canceled without a vote? The 2.6, right?
Yeah, I think he was just asking for that clarification on who can cancel it.
Not sure we have to add new language. I think that's fine and then say have to be emergency or it could be. in other words, whatever situation might pop up that it would have to be canceled without a vote. Notification will be made to the who needs to do that, so.
Okay. We'll wordsmith that. If I could spell. All right, the next item that was still discussed is section 3.1 draft agenda. Except in the case of an emergency meeting, the agenda packet will be available by the Thursday prior to the date of the meeting. He's saying that I assume this assumes Monday meetings. Do we want to say at least 2 business days prior to give flexibility for a meeting held other than on a Monday?
That makes sense.
Okay. So,
You know, and if you wanted, you know, I guess 2 business days probably covers it. If you wanted, 3 days, or whatever. 2 is fine,
Business days just means not Saturday, Sunday.
except for you.
Yes, well, that's right.
True. Yes.
all right. There's just a couple more. Okay, so this is something that we have discussed many times, and I thought that we kind of had it set, but then Bob raised the question again. So agenda requests. So in the past, the previous mayor kind of had final sign off on the agenda. We discussed that we would allow all council members to be able to place items on the agenda, and Bob questioned that. I did have a discussion at the Mayor's Association, and all the mayors there said that they do have the final say on the agenda that's put in front. But I want this to be a discussion. I don't want it to be like just because everybody else does. I'm happy to go back to Bob and say, is this like I have to, or should do, a recommendation?
Can we, during a meeting, suspend? Can we move to suspend the agenda and add a piece of business and by vote during a meeting? So in other words, if you didn't allow something on the agenda that I may have requested or someone may have requested or maybe hadn't thought about, and during the meeting, can we make that kind of a decision? Robert's rules or whatever. That would be the only other thing I could think of that would be at least a way of fixing that.
I will say a lot of boards have an agenda approval item. Or an agenda additional. item.
That's right, yeah, beginning. That may be a way of just covering that.
Maybe this is a
It's
question.
actually on our order of business going forward as well. Mhm.
Not that our mayor would ever do anything insidious, but does that kind of a power that would say that the mayor could keep something from coming up? By choosing to deal with it?
Sure, so I mean, looking at it at 2 ways, right? So our mayor doesn't get a vote. We get the votes. Is that something we want to invest in the power of mayor? So our mayorship does have, so it matters who the mayor is.
One of those situations where you're like talking about somebody in the room as if they're not in the room.
No, well, we don't talk about the position. We're not talking about you. That's why I said, that's why I prefaced it to say, not that I would ever believe that. So.
Right, because I mean, isn't that part of course, I want to be able to put stuff on the agenda. I mean, I like that. I think everybody should be able to come and put something to it, but I think it also has the power of mayorship of matters, who's the mayor.
Could I ask a question based on that? Because I know that there was a time when you brought something personally, it was about actually what's led to this committee
Mhm.
that we sit here tonight. Did anyone try to stop you from doing that?
No.
And so maybe the policy was that, you know, we talked to the mayor as the one that puts it together, but that we talk to the mayor. I mean, I don't know, that's
Yeah.
the best way, but I don't know if that's.
Well, my thought is, as long as it meets the policy that we're establishing, why wouldn't it go on the agenda?
We give the power to the mayor for the mayor to be, like, I don't even want to deal with it, and that's why I wouldn't. So thinking about the position, not the person.
My concern is we're setting a standard that's gonna go on for years. I mean,
Mhm.
it can always be changed by another council. And while personally, I feel like our mayor is extremely reasonable and I do.
The position, not the person.
Not to, yes. And I don't have any qualms about the fact that, I don't have any qualms about the fact that I think she would be, you know, very fair in her decision making. That might not necessarily be the case going
True.
forward years from now. So those are some of my concerns that I have with that kind of power being put into one position.
So I have these two questions for Bob. During a meeting, can a council person move to make a change on the agenda if something isn't on the agenda that a council person requested to be on the agenda? A lot of agendas. And then two, the council would like the ability to place things on the agenda. Why would we not allow council members to place items on the agenda if they meet the policy?
And I
Is
will
that
say,
a good summary?
there have been times when we have added items to the agenda at staff request. Something comes up at the last minute that we need a decision on. So it hasn't gone out in the packet necessarily, but we brought it up and added it to the agenda that evening. There are certain things you can do that with, other things you can't. Obviously, you can't schedule a public hearing because that require statutory requirements and things of that nature, but there are sometimes business items that pop up. Closed sessions, as an example. Something came up that needed a closed session right away.
We got a section here that says that the council member must act at least 7 days prior to the meeting and have all relevant material. So that's gonna contradict. I just wanted to point to that.
Thank you. That's true. That's a good.
I guess my feeling is regardless who's in that position, someone's gonna have to have the final say about it. I may have a wild idea that I think warrants being on the agenda. The rest of the council may not feel that way, and the mayor may be able to see something that makes me realize that's not really appropriate, the way you've presented it. So rather put it on agenda. And then it becomes one of these things that looks poorly on us. I think the mayor has a responsibility to take those items and say yea or nay. I've never presented something that she hasn't agreed or disagreed with. That's not the point. When someone's ultimately got to have responsibility, what goes on the agenda, what's brought before the town, what's important is town business. And we've gone through some of this where we put items out there that really are something that as a town, we had no control over. We made them agenda items. I think that's important, that someone has to be, she is elected as a mayor. Where is the mayor? I think that's the responsibility. And to your point about amending our statute, I'm not sure we're at that point where that's really warranted. I don't know. Not that I think she couldn't do that, but I think it gives.
Oh, no, I wouldn't allow the vote.
Yeah.
No, that's, since she does, since the mayor, she doesn't have a vote, their power is in the final say of the agenda.
maybe he's not even talking about power as much as just saying there's no place in this writing that assigns the person who brings it to closure.
Yeah, who sets the,
Because it does have, I mean, I still think with the language in there with the 7 days prior and everything else, it assumes that council person or a staff person or anyone else has something, they're gonna be able to bring it as long as they're bringing it in the prepared way. It's just, who's gonna put closure on it, I guess. That,
I always thought the mayor would be the one. that closure on that. That's been my feeling, is that's the mayor's responsibility. 7 days prior, if you have an item that's important enough, you've done your homework, you presented the packet, it goes before her and town manager. Make sure it's in a line and congruent with what our purpose is.
And this is just items for us to request. This is not staff. So if staff has an item, I mean, staff can add it, but I think that that's really the whole point in the Friday meetings. Rich, is that you say, okay, this agenda is ready to go.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
kind of give it like the final check off.
we've got community organizations listed on here. Should be made to the town manager, you know, that kind of stuff too. So I think you're right. I think that all the options to get us, let us put stuff on the agenda. So it's just who's doing the quote.
yeah, because it's not preventing us from putting.
He never commented on.
So leave as is, and I mean, I don't foresee myself
Think of the position.
a reasonable person in this role would not be like, no, we're not gonna put that on the agenda because I don't like it. I mean, there were things several times, I think, that Mayor Tully probably didn't love that were in front of us, but it was still on the agenda. And we still discussed it, and maybe it, where, maybe it didn't, but I think that maybe we just need to say, I don't know, I don't really know that it needs to be said, but
I still, yeah, maybe that's my sense too. I'm just trying to find a reason why he's so worried about this.
I'm not sure I'm reading back through his comments and I don't see that he raised that as a question. I think it came up in the dialogue about who has that authority, but
it's in his notes.
Individual,
council member place an item on the agenda.
Right now, it says that it does, so I don't
Yeah.
know why he asked that.
Is the manager required to put an item on if requested by the mayor or an individual council member?
I mean,
I don't get it.
in my opinion, if it meets
The criteria.
the criteria, then it goes on the agenda. Because it's on us as the council person to ensure that it meets the criteria and that it's in 7 days in advance with all the relevant materials.
which I'm with, but the criteria is left there. There's a lot of things that are check marks, but then there is that one that is opinion. And somebody's got to be the the judge of it. Is this beneficial for the town? Somebody could go through and mark the 7 days before, have a packet ready to give to each one of us. Have all the notes given. But then the other requirement is it has to be beneficial to the town, or I don't know the exact wording.
That's right above.
Um,
Related to
Related to
official
official town
town business and aligned with the town of Elon's values and strategic priorities.
Anybody can make a case for it, but that is a total judgment case. So that's, somebody's got to be the judgment of, or who decides if it's related to official town business or not. Is it up to the individual council member or community organization that's presenting this to pitch the idea to the manager to say that this is how they can relate it to official town business? Or do they got to pitch it to mayor?
Sounds to me, we need to get back to Bob on this and have him clarify maybe what.
I agree.
That situation there, so everybody's covered and feel like.
Sure looks to me like we tried to do a more of a democratic type process and I don't see what, I'm not sure if he's worried about some legality or something. Covered all his comments? Let's see. Charter, if he's got something about charter.
Yeah, it was a question of quorum. The way,
The form says that a quorum is a majority of the members of the board council. Section 2.2 defines the board or council as being comprised of 5 members. So I actually already changed it. We said 4 members, I think, initially.
and I
but you
think
said it
He
was-
said 3.
and the reason why we had said 4 is because I think of the way state statute reads.
And he said, to be honest, I'm not clear.
Who said that?
In the lawyers, in the comments, it says, to be clear, or to be honest, I am not clear as to what the state language says.
That was me.
Oh, I thought that was him. Okay,
No.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Quorum, a majority of the actual membership of the council, it's the mayor,
6,
excluding vacant seats.
6, that's, so 3 would not be considered.
I have no idea based on state statute.
Okay.
There's a chart. You have the chart and we pulled the chart and it said 4.
It says 3 because the mayor doesn't vote. If your mayor doesn't vote, it will be 3. And just a footnote, I've been to 4 regional meetings this month. And orders and resolutions was part of it, and Tom Crothers was the educator. And that's one of the subjects we just covered, so I'm really clear on that one. I ate it 4 times.
Right, so I had already accepted his changes. I don't think I just forgot to delete that comment.
Okay, thank you.
And then let's just make sure that's it. We'll go back to him just for,
But we will not be voting on this.
We did miss one and I missed it as well on page 5.
Page 5 of the document.
Yes.
any comments on?
And we adopted this.
I already, Rich did not give you all updated.
That was what he sent me.
This is the purpose.
Rich comments and
I didn't make any comments to the
No,
document.
that's the Robert comment.
oh, I already deleted that. Already changed it.
Which was.
That's what I sent.
Which item on page 5? I'm making notes.
On page 5, the last sentence on my version that I sent to you, because it's from that email, says at a minimum, the policies and rules of procedure manual should be reviewed with each new council. With each new town council.
That just shot Stephanie's whole claim that this is gonna be here for years and years. So.
Yeah.
Right, I have an updated version, updated 4/24/23. With changes accepted and those comments that we discussed. So, we don't need to make a motion, right? We just, because we're gonna take that back to Bob and review. Hey, moving right along. New business. So first item is the ad valorem tax advertisement.
I saw, she says, here's my part.
You wave now, Michelle. All the people. So I need permission to advertise. So delinquent taxes for 22. Now is 3,061.75.
long as my name's not on it. that's fine.
It's not.
That's 3,001,
961.75.
and you have to advertise them. On choice, yeah, I mean,
Well, you can use Times News, but it's a whole.
what's the cost to advertise there?
What it was last year. I know with the Alamance News. It's like around 500. The Times News is around $500 the last time I used them. So
Each week,
I just do it one time.
or just one time posting?
It's much cheaper with Alamance.
Well, and the Times News is every other, it's not even a daily paper anymore.
3 times a week.
And I mean, I don't. Everybody I know who ever read it canceled their membership for it. And then the people who haven't canceled can't figure out how to cancel it. If they can't get anybody on the phone. The one that was really interesting to me is that there is a property owned next to you by HUD and they owe taxes. How does the federal government not pay their taxes?
The management company has changed twice. This afternoon, I actually talked to a contact lady and she is supposed to be sending a check in. So I gave her prices for April, prices for May. Was past 19th, there'll be an ad charge added to it. Yeah, they change. They don't notify anybody. They just, you have to figure it out.
The management companies do all the work and HUD just,
But the same property that,
It was Sexton.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve? Tax advertisement?
That motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that. maybe.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the 10 years personal property taxes release.
These are pretty much uncollectible. The most on that was the company, the compliance service. That company leased, equipment to Nevar's. Balance went practice years ago, went out of business. The rest of them mobile homes.
And we are prevented from collecting these. I think if it, I don't think we'll come into here, but there are. Somebody were to reactivate a piece of property, whatever it may be, you could collect it at that point, but this forgives it because you can't go after them anymore.
So the point with the property, you mentioned a mobile home. It's just like a vehicle. They take the property and leave. I mean, we couldn't put a lien on that property, right?
Because it's on the mobile home, which is left town.
It's like a personal, it is personal tax.
Yeah,
Real
you know,
estate,
so
you can put a lien on it and
if they left there and sold it to the next person, then there would have been a lien. That they would have had to.
Again, this is not real estate,
put lien.
personal property. So absent authority from the state or some sort of a state process to tax those, if they get up and leave, they're gone.
Say this every year, but dealing with all the time, this is a very low. So this is just the ones that have reached that 10-year expiration. You know what we have total? from Year 1 through 10 on books?
So, may not be that much.
I was gonna say, Michelle runs like a 98% collection rate.
That's what I thought. We did a very
Yeah.
good job, so very good job.
It always has been. Do I have a motion to approve the 10 years personal property tax release?
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on, we have a few ARPA policies that we need to discuss and hopefully approve. start with the ARPA allowable costs and cost principles policy.
Y'all stay awake reading these policies, right?
I did read them.
Oh, you did? Oh, good. Well, I wanted to stress first.
Wanted to make one of Jeff's later meetings as interesting as possible.
I wanted to stress first, these policies are from the School of Government. These are policies that the US Treasury says we have to have in place. And what's really I found interesting, so if I go to another state, it's almost verbatim. So I don't know who was the originator of all these policies.
Treasury.
Say what?
Bureau
I'm
of
thinking
DC.
so, I'm thinking so. So Diane, if you could scroll down just a little bit. Thank you. So at the point, the two policies we've already adopted was the records retention policy and the civil rights policy. So after just looking at so if you follow the number 2 section, so we're looking at the allowable cost, eligible use, and the conflict of interest. So the allowable cost defines the items that are allowable and those that are not allowable, and also if they're reasonable. Where the town gets to hang their hat on is that we can provide, replace lost public sector revenue using this fund to provide government services. That's where we're hanging our hat. So after reading the policy, you can see how they're just saying, just defining what the parameters are. So I didn't know if you wanted to adopt the policy one at a time or just do it in a fail swoop or,
We'll do one at a time, just
okay,
since it's on here.
yeah. So does anyone have any questions about the allowable cost policy? Items that are allowable?
Right, do I have a motion to approve the ARPA allowable costs and cost control policy?
Move.
Have a second? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Who made
Moving
that
on.
motion? I'm sorry.
I did.
Randy. Next we have ARPA eligible use policy.
So this policy defines the permissible and the prohibited uses of ARPA funds. The permissible, again, we're hanging our hat on revenue replacement. And if you saw in the policy itself, it clearly defines what you cannot do. And we're nowhere near that, so we're doing good. So we're allowed to use the funds in what's coming up on the grant project ordinance. So are there any questions for this?
Right, do I have a motion to approve the ARPA eligible use policy? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to ARPA conflict of interest policy.
Now, this was probably a little bit of a jagged pill to swallow. The conflict of interest policy was originally developed for municipalities, states much larger than ours that are actually going to turn around and award the money. We're not awarding any money. But when we get money from the state, we have to have our conflict of interest policy in place because they're going to be asking us for this policy by the time when they start delving out the ARPA money. So this needs to be in place as a recipient, really, not as much as a person that's gonna delegate the money to someone else. And it just kind of outlines and it just really in the 25 pages, it says, if you've got a personal interest in something, you shouldn't be voting on it. So if you have a financial interest. So y'all have any questions about that?
Do I have a motion to approve the ARPA conflict of interest policy?
That motion.
Second,
I'll second it.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next
Now,
one, the grant project ordinance.
yes. Okay, let me just precursor this with, if you guys approve this tonight, you are obligating the money. It is like a purchase order, no going back, going forward. So the grant project ordinance, if you looked at the divisions of how, in these policies, we have a 3-tier process. Kayla Aldrin is the first tier, and she's the one who submitted the information for me to view over. I'm the second tier, and Rich is a third tier. So in this grant project ordinance, what we're stating is we're going to be we're gonna be replacing the lost revenue. And just remember, lost revenue is not, revenue replacement is the title of the expenditure category. We're not showing we lost any revenue. It's just the title of the expenditure category. So with this, on this updated grant project ordinance, if you saw like on page 4, I haven't transferred any money, but as soon as we get the other, could we go back down? There was another, just the very top. We have to put in some internal controls for us. Just a little bit more.
Okay, the cursor is everywhere. Hold on, babe. I can get it there.
So right there, the 5 key categories of internal control. The auditor, Becky, Cobb, and I, we have to sit down and work on this. We had a 45-minute conversation about this, but we're gonna have to develop some internal controls that are only specific for the town of Elon because we are unique in categories. We only have one finance person. We only have one HR payroll person. We only have one utilities clerk. We only have one tax assessor. So yeah, it's only a bunch of ones in there. And so we're having to develop policies for each individual. Sheila in the police department collects money. She's only one. Jennifer at the park collects money. She's only one. So we need to take all those and control, all those internal controls and have them apply to each one of those departments. And they're the 0. So we're starting at the ground working up. So as soon as those internal controls are in place, and also with these policies you just adopted, I have to come back and report to you every 3 months about where we are. So you'll be hearing some more.
The
So-
internal policies, those have to be done before the money gets here.
Well, the money's already here.
Okay, so
It's already before I'm able to swipe right and put it in general fund, we're gonna have to have those 5 policies into place.
okay, I got you.
Yes, and I don't know, I would love to say I could do it next week. That's not possible because we're starting like from ground zero, developing these policies as they come up. And these are uniform guidance policies that the US Treasury says that we have to have in place. Now, a lot of it is, you have to remember, these are applying to City of Greensboro, State of North Carolina. Elon's a little different. We're a little unique in situations. We're a lot smaller, but we're all a category of 1. And we all have to have a policy in a category of 1.
So one question, obviously, we're talking about this $3.8 million. So we're gonna put in the general fund, for example, the police department, we're gonna put in 1.5 million. The general fund under their account.
Well, it's a revenue reimbursement.
Okay.
So what we're saying is yes, we're gonna put over into the general fund all these figures that you see, administration. What I have to do is also, after the internal controls, we're gonna do a project and expenditure report. And it's recommended that it's done quarterly for each one of these departments. And by the way, these numbers, 4,200, that's our codes, 4,200 is admin, 5,100 is police department. It's like our general ledger codes. So it's just real easy identifiable. 5,300 fire department, That's the reason it was nothing. I mean, I just copied those codes over.
Normal language.
Yeah.
Speaking of normal language, are these policies gonna be super long or are they relatively detailed type, even for every one of them?
Well, after the 45-minute conversation that I had with our auditor, I felt sick because I'm hoping they're not super long. We have to determine ourselves what we have a policy about. So first of all, it's going to be conversations amongst each one of these departments. And it's just an internal control. A risk assessment is like, where do you see we're vulnerable? I'm not a good criminal, so I need to figure out, what do you think is vulnerable? I mean, I don't think like a criminal, so I need help. And then just
I can.
say what?
Somebody else at Jeff?
And it's just, we're on listservs, we're on management, like listservs. There was one thing that came across from on the HR side, like Kayla, she's our only one. And when we hire someone, I see information on them, but I didn't realize the number of levels, even in a payroll prospect, that somebody else should be signing off on. You know, it's just stuff like I mean, when I worked underneath Misty, I mean, she just trusted me and said, go. And I said, okay, good, we'll go.
And we have a lot of these internal, I mean, we have internal controls at the global level. This is getting down to the actual
gotta make 'em-
seat level. How does this person handle this check that comes in? How do they handle the cash that comes in?
It's mostly like a verbal level also. This is, we verbally agree to this. We really don't have anything written down.
Right.
And we need checks and balances for all of this, so.
Other questions on the grant project ordinance? I have a motion to approve the grant project ordinance.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on, ARPA eligibility determination and allowable cost review.
So that was just showing you the internal process, part of the control risk environment stuff of what we did to come to this determination of where to spend the money and where it's allowable and the provisions by the state and the US Treasury. And it was just that internal control that we did. And so we're making it viewable to the board.
Any questions about the ARPA eligibility determination? I have a motion to approve the ARPA eligibility determination. I have a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Work on that.
Yeah.
That's been long. All right, moving on to reports, town manager.
All right, just a reminder to everybody that check the town's calendar page for latest information on events and activities that are taking place in town, including recreation activities, music to dine to. This Friday night, to dine to has Hindsight, which is a bluegrass band that they'll be playing. We have several meetings this week, in addition to tonight's. Tomorrow night at 6:30. First of 3 public meetings on our downtown master plan. We're asking residents and friends of downtown to chime in on what their thoughts are. It will be held at 6:30 in the Community Life Center of Elon Community Church. Pizza and childcare will be provided tomorrow night. Not sure about the other 2 meetings.
Can you elaborate on what the childcare, so I mean, I've been telling people, like, what is-
I'm donating our 3 dog crates for the night.
So is it the nursery, or you like,
It's Sarah, my staff person, will be there and she'll take them out to the playground and have some games and activities.
It's more activities than babysitting,
okay,
so.
not for infants.
Thursday night is the first public meeting of our new multimodal committee. They're working on developing a multimodal transportation plan for Elon. And just for those of you who are curious as to what the multimodal transportation plan is, I will say it is focusing on the multi-part. Pedestrian access, bicycles, transit. It is not focusing on cars. So it's on all those other aspects of transportation. That meeting will be held at 5:30, from 5:30 to 7 PM here in our council chambers, town hall. Again, residents and any interested folks are welcome to attend. Tuesday, May 9th, our next council meeting. It is planned that we'll be holding a public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 24 budget. And this last Friday, Bill alluded to it earlier, Bill Bockham did, was the kickoff to our 2023 Music to Dine To series, which actually featured Bill Bachman and his band as a last minute substitution. When the other band couldn't make it, we called and he said, "Yeah, we'll be there." So it's, that's Bill. From all reports that I've seen and heard, the evening went off without a hitch. The residents and guests in town of all ages, from strollers to elderly population coming in to listen to music and have a good time. We had the bouncy slide and live music on the West College end of town, and face painting and trike riding, axe throwing, modified beer pong because there was no beer involved. And up on and a DJ up on the West Lebanon side. We did have one issue, and that was that the sidewalk was so crowded at times, it was hard to get through. We did receive many comments from people, I did, that, wow, this is great, I'm looking forward to it next week, and we had to disabuse them of that. This is not the weekly event, music is the weekly event. But it does plant an awful lot of seeds for the future. You know, whether this is a rite of spring in Elon, some sort of a block party, do we do it at the end of the season? You know, those are all things that are being talked about. And the last comment I will make, only because he's here and he likes to be embarrassed. You all received notice that Jeff Stein, the executive vice president of something at Elon University, communications and special projects and collaboration or something, is leaving town for greener pastures. I will say this is, it is sad for me for two reasons. One, he and I have developed a great working relationship over the last 3 years. And I think we have been able to put together a great model for the town and the university to collaborate, communicate, and be responsive to each other. And he's a neighbor of mine, so it will be sad to see, not for long, it'll be sad to see him leave. And I wanted to recognize him to the board because he has been a true advocate for the town, wearing both his town hat as well as his university hat. And those efforts are going to be missed, very much so.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Fancy. Right, we'll start with Stephanie.
Well, a lot of what I was gonna say, Rich has done it, but I'll just repeat it because I want to. Jill, amazing job. I'm so sorry I missed the block party. My daughter was in a performance that I couldn't miss, but I have heard nothing but amazing things about the work, and the farmer's market was fantastic. Everything looked great. Diane, you have really just gotten this diversity, equity, and belonging committee off, and appreciate all your hard work on getting it going. I know, we know volunteers are hard to come by, but it looks like we just have an amazing committee to go. And President Stein of Mary Baldwin University, we are so going to miss you, not only in these chambers, but in the University of Elon, the Elon University rather. I don't think anybody has any clue how much work that you do, and I don't think they're going to have any idea. No, it's until you're gone. And so personally, I want to thank you for everything that you've taught me in a short amount of time, and everything that you've done for this town and for this university. So thank you very much for all your dedication.
Friday, it was a great time. My family had a wonderful time, and I was when I talk about Elon to people, and I'm sure you guys have heard it too, that we're a college town, and we have but I was overtaken by how many young families that come to Elon. There were so many people with children enjoying our streets and what we have to offer. And that was awesome to see and witness. So I think the direction this town is heading in with it, especially with our plaza and what we're trying to do with our downtown. There are people here that want it, and we use it and bring more people to Also on Sunday, Phyllis actually met me out there as well. We did the Elon Wheels skate meetup. It was behind the Shore Center. And it was awesome. You know, there was probably 50 or 60 skaters out there. And there were parents and grandparents and kids of these skaters. And the skaters were from, you know, little as like probably like Addie's age, like 5 on little scooters. About the main of them were, you know, 11 to 16 years old. And it was super organized. They gave out prizes for best tricks and doing things. And, you know, I think what Kai spoke about tonight, you know, so it got me looking more into it and talking with them. So looking online, and I do think there's an opportunity that Elon could have. And I saw the families supporting these skaters. I could just see a big event if we had a skate park, how it could truly set us apart for one, and also just help our town. And I think everybody got one of these in front of them. We have the art show in here as we see around August 30th. I think the fire hydrant, April 30th. And we have a fire hydrant that's painted right here on the corner. If we haven't checked that out, our first one by our planning department.
Yes, thank you to Mary Catherine and Lori for being our first paintees.
Does it fit your specification, Chief Massey? You understand? But other than that, that's it. Thank you again to the staff and everybody that has helped contribute to our town. Dr. Don, man. We'll talk later. We're gonna miss him.
Monty?
Yeah, a lot has been said, but yeah, I would ditto about the Elon's Farmers Market. It was a great turnout for the first day. I know a lot of the vendors aren't there yet because they're still putting the goods together, but it was well turned out. I got to meet Miss Bass, introduce myself to her. I think she's really excited about what's going on there, and excited about the multimodal kickoff. I think that's going to be a good start. And lastly, and but not least, I want to thank Jeff and Chrissy. They've been good neighbors of mine for over 20 years, and I'm good friends. Yeah, and as being on the council, I had an opportunity to work more closely with you. I have a great appreciation about what he does, and I think you're right, Stephanie. I think it's gonna be hard to fill those shoes. It may take 3 people, but you know what? They got the budget for it, so.
Randy?
I just want to reiterate, the planning and setup that went into the farmer's market. And when Authentic Alamance had it the first year, they put a billboard out on the highway. And I thought, well, that's pretty impressive. But what really happened this year, it's clear that this was the right way to go. And I'm just so pleased that the town of Elon has been willing to put this investment, and I think it's going to pay in big dividends. It was just a different sense of there, and I think that will continue through the year. So I hope that that's something that we can really celebrate. If the case is that there's only been one painted so far, as of right now, the second one should be painted tomorrow in front of Elon Community Church. She said because it was going to rain later this week. And by the way, that is one possibility we're going to have with this Thursday. There's a possibility of rain, but we'll learn. And one of the things we did learn the hard way is don't ever cancel in advance. Some of the farmers will show up even if it's raining. So, and I just finally want to reiterate, Jeff, I'm so glad we got to have Seder dinner together, and I'm glad that we have gotten to know each other, and I'm just glad for all you have done and continue to do. Diversity, and Mary Baldwin is a good school, so I think you'll have a fun time there. So I don't think I have anything else.
Hey, I missed the block party. I'm on the downtown committee and I wasn't there, and I hate that. But I'm glad to hear we had a great turnout for that. And even though it's kind of great to hear when is it next week? And that's obviously not acceptable. You know, we can't do that, but it is a good sign, really. Downtown and said young families, and that makes a big difference. So thanks for setting all that up, Jill, and the farmer's market sounds like that's gonna really be strong going forward. Jeff, congratulations. I've enjoyed working with you on the downtown committee and we certainly will miss you greatly. Appreciate all you've done in representing the university, and I think you've done a great job in integrating the town university, and Mary Baldwin is lucky to have you as president. So congratulations.
Thanks to all of you. Certainly for your service to the entire community, but for your connections with the university. We did have to navigate a lot. Roland. Patrick Noltemeyer, who serves as chief of staff, proudly be sitting here at some points. I think he's very excited to be connected. But appreciate that we were able to actually build our relationship more closely together over the last 3 years, even despite had to really work. That first committee, we really had to work, figure out how do we do this better. So that's, just my work with town, it's really the only reason I got the new job. So thank you. It certainly didn't hurt. So
It didn't hurt.
you just being in the town of.
Your wife is going too?
And
Don't you need a vacation home?
Yeah.
someone said they thought something was coming up because you're really sprucing the place up, getting it ready.
Just make it student housing.
Please, don't say that. Please. That's right.
Well, I don't have much else to report. Congrats. Did you get an email by chance?
Sure.
Can you just let me know if you didn't? Because I have had an issue with my email. So far, there's 4 emails that I've sent that people are like, I never got that email. So if you didn't, I've sent it, but this would be number 5.
If she's asking you for money in an emergency, don't look at that.
Yes, that too, because that's another issue we've had, where people claim to be me and ask for favors. Yes, so there's been several posts on the police department's Facebook, the town's Facebook, and had to send multiple emails about that where somebody is saying that they're me, not from my actual email address, and asking for gift cards. So
You still want those?
Some gift cards.
y'all are awful. But no, I had a wonderful time at the block party. Now the photo taken of me and posted on the official town Facebook page, I look like a total monster in, but I was having a wonderful time. That was just when I was about to tip the tricycle over and I saved myself, thank goodness. But it was such a great time. We went back and forth from both sides and everyone talked about how awesome it was. So excellent job. Can't wait for it again on Friday. As one of those people. And I hated to miss the farmer's market, but I will just say, I've been out of town for work and nothing makes you love home more than being away from it. So I'm very happy after being gone for 10 days for work that I am home for a little while for the next trip. And of course, I'm always available, phone, email, text, whatever.
Don't expect a response.
Don't expect a response in the email because my emails are not evidently. And Jeff, congrats. I have always said, not always, but since I've been in Elon, I've really felt like the town of Elon and Elon University have such an opportunity to be a model for what town-gown relationships can be. Do I think that it's where we need to be? Not yet. I think that there's still a long ways to go. And I think it's going to always be something that we have to continue to work on and improve so that you can be the model, because as soon as you stop changing, you're dead, right? Isn't that what they say? So we want to continue to change, continue to grow together and to have that relationship. And we look forward to building that with whomever comes in your place, but we certainly wish you nothing but the best. Okay, do I have a, yes.
There was one negative comment about our block party. came from a student who was upset that we were trying to
Awesome.
turn Elon into a wholesome place.
Yes. Yes, I personally heard that. Yes, they were trying to go into Pandora's Pies. And he said, why is Elon trying to be wholesome all of a sudden? What are you talking about? This is literally every Friday in the spring and the fall, like, yeah. So that was quite interesting.
All right.
There you go.
Trying to be wholesome. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Second. I'm not sure who did the first or the second. They,
We'll let her.
all in favor, say aye. We stand adjourned.
I'm off to Boston.